The first thing I noticed wasn't her actions. It was the quiet. Hannah used to fill the air effortlessly. She'd chat while making breakfast, hum while folding laundry, or murmur half asleep on the couch. Even our arguments were alive with sound, tension, and energy. Then one month, the house fell into a strange stillness. It wasn't peaceful, it felt calculated. She started waking earlier than me, already dressed, already focused. Her phone was always in her hand, but never rang when I was nearby. She laughed more often but never with me. Short, polished laughs for strangers, not the warmth I used to know. I told myself it was work. That's what she said too. Hannah had a demanding consulting job, the type that sounded important but was mostly endless calls, strategy sessions, and networking. Our evenings drifted into parallel routines. I cooked, she reheated. I asked about her day, she summarized. I reached for closeness. She leaned just enough to avoid it. At first, I didn't suspect anything. I was patient. Too patient, maybe. But patience fades when the familiar pattern breaks. She stopped using our shared calendar, stopped mentioning names, stopped leaving her phone face up. One night she came home late, heels in hand, eyes sparkling like she had just stepped out from another world. "You look happy," I said casually. She smiled, distracted. "Busy day," she replied. That word, busy, clung in my mind. Not joyful, not content, just bullet points instead of emotion. A week later, I noticed a receipt from dry cleaning. Not the amount but the name, Sterling and Company. I knew the firm, a respected regional company run by Julian Sterling, married, photographed at charity events, the kind of man people trusted instinctively. I didn't confront her, didn't snoop. Not yet. I watched. I noticed subtle changes. Softer fabrics, slower movements, checking her reflection in shop windows, rehearsing smiles not meant for me. And then came the message that shifted confusion into clarity. She texted about drinks with a coworker at an upscale public spot, ending the message with a heart emoji as if it made everything harmless. I stared at the screen. Not anger, not hurt, just focus. For the first time, her story no longer matched her life. That night I did something new. I made a call. The woman who answered wasn't surprised, she sounded relieved. Ava didn't rush to explain. That was the first sign she wasn't impulsive, reckless, or wrong. We met 2 days later at a quiet cafe off a side street, the kind of place where nobody notices. Ava was already there. I arrived slightly late. Neither of us apologized. "He's careful," she said once we sat a day. "That's what makes him dangerous." I listened. Not as a man seeking proof, but as someone letting the truth settle in. Ava described Julian's changes over the past year. Business trips multiplying, hallway phone calls, sudden obsession with appearances. She didn't accuse at first, just observed patterns, then identified gaps. Calendar entries without details, work expenses covering hotels, an extra email address, and subtle messages. Hannah's name appeared repeatedly. "Not the first," Ava said softly, "but the most consistent." That word hit harder than I expected. Consistency reveals intent. I went home that night and saw my wife differently. I noticed the charm she deployed when questioned, the humor that deflected, the long kisses when she sensed doubt. She wasn't cruel. That made it worse. Our life appeared perfect. Weekend groceries, shared jokes, staged photographs, but inside everything had shifted. I stopped seeking reassurance, stopped asking questions, and began documenting. Times, dates, small inconsistencies. Hannah began to relax. That's when people make mistakes, they get comfortable. Ava and I stayed in contact, always precise, calm, strategic. One evening she forwarded a reservation confirmation. A rooftop lounge downtown, public yet private. That night, Hannah said she'd be out late. I didn't argue or hesitate. I told her to enjoy herself. That night, Hannah dressed with deliberate care, choosing a dress I'd only seen once before. She kissed me softly. "I might be late," she said. He nodded. Her heels clicked down the hallway like punctuation at the end of a sentence. I waited, showered, changed, Put on a jacket I hadn't worn since our anniversary. Not to impress, but to reclaim myself. Downtown I met Ava first. She was calm but alert, fingers tightening around her glass when she saw me. "He thinks he's alone," she said. "So does she," I replied. We watched quietly as the city glowed beneath us. Moments later, Hannah arrived with Julian trailing behind. Confident, familiar. She scanned the room, then her eyes met mine. Color drained from her face, her smile froze, body stiffened. Julian recovered first, forced a polite smile, extended a hand. "Daniel, right? This isn't what it looks like." Ava laughed softly. Disbelief more than humor. "You've used that line before, just not for this audience." Hannah tried to speak. "You followed me." I shook my head calmly. "You invited me, just not with words." Power doesn't always stand tall. Sometimes it waits. Ava stood firm. I remained seated, controlled. "This was supposed to be private," Hannah stammered. "Now it is," Ava said. Julian tried to deflect, claiming professionalism. I leaned back and met his eyes. "Then explain your late-night meetings, hotel expenses, and why her calendar changed the month your second email went active." His composure cracked. Hannah realized something was missing, something she hadn't known. No yelling, no chaos, just quiet clarity. The room's stillness spoke louder than any accusation. Hannah's eyes darted from me to Ava, then to Julian, desperately trying to rearrange reality. Didn't work. Over the following days, panic set in. Hannah oscillated between remorse and excuses. Julian withdrew, strategizing silently. Ava stayed 3 steps ahead, filing clean, precise, professional documentation. She didn't seek revenge, she sought truth. Hannah tried to negotiate, apologize, and explain, but she had lost control of the narrative. 2 weeks later, Hannah moved out. She left small personal items behind. A mug, a scarf, a book. Not as manipulation, but instinctive remnants. I packed them carefully. Closure isn't destruction, it's boundaries. We spoke once more, quietly, with honesty. She admitted her mistakes, I acknowledged the pain, and I set limits. No shouting, no begging, just a final ending. Julian's reputation unraveled quietly. No scandal, just erosion. Ava handled it professionally, gracefully. Over time we maintained contact, careful but supportive. Weeks later, Ava shared she was moving to a new city for a fresh start. Understood. No promises, just mutual respect. Months passed. I rearranged my apartment, reclaimed my space, reconnected with friends, ran again, laughed freely, slept deeply. Some messages arrived, Julian's and Hannah's, but I did not respond. Healing requires boundaries, not witnesses. A year later I found myself on that same rooftop. Not for closure, not confrontation, but for laughter with friends. The city looked the same, but I had changed. I caught my reflection in the glass. Relaxed, calm, at peace. The strongest response to betrayal isn't retaliation. It's growth. Quiet, unannounced, undeniable growth. I didn't win because they lost. I won because I stopped living in reaction to their choices. And that victory, silent and complete, was mine alone.